My name's Sina Bowyer, and I'm joined today by Carol Saniger, who is a care nurse for an Unlocked interview. And we're going to be talking about her experiences of working with the elderly in care and why she left. So I'm just going to start with a couple of statistics before we get going. So there are 15.5 million people in the UK that are over the age of 60. That's 23% of the UK population. Of those, there are 3.2 million people aged 80 or more, including 600,000 who are 90 and above. There are over 11,000 care homes in the UK. So, Carol, you wrote in with a story called Do No Harm. And I think the whole point that I'm making about saying the sheer number of elderly people in the UK, or people over the age of 60, is that they haven't really had a voice during this time of restriction. And, you've been working with this premise, do no harm, and really questioning the processes around lockdown and shielding the elderly. So do you want to say a little bit more about why you sent in that story and where you are now?
Yeah. I think where I'm at now is I'm absolutely convinced we are doing harm. When I left my job and when I wrote the piece, I was pretty sure. I had plenty of concerns, but actually since then, which has been a month or so, so much has happened in what the government is saying. There's so many more people coming out now saying, even the WHO are now, World Health Organization, are now saying lockdowns are harmful, counterproductive, cause poverty. There's lots of other people now coming out. There's many doctors and healthcare professionals now coming out saying their concerns about things. So I'm utterly convinced now that we are doing harm. I think the fact that we're now looking at elderly residents in nursing homes might not even be able to have Christmas with their relatives, which is just barbaric. Again, we're not getting any chance to see the scientific evidence behind these measures. There's no open debate. In fact, there's censorship and penalties for those people who are trying to open a debate and trying to give the other science, of which there's plenty. Yes. So I am really concerned now. And the thing is, part of nursing is to be an advocate, as well as actually giving the care. You should be able to advocate for those that cannot speak up for themselves. And I think, to be honest, I think nurses and carers and people in the healthcare sector, I think we're now at a point where there is a duty of care to be advocates now for these people more than ever. And it's very difficult. I found it extremely difficult to advocate whilst I was in the system, because the system is set and there's no room for critical thinking or individual assessment or questioning of any guidelines or even moving any parameters around. So within the system, it's pretty locked. And I do understand that it's difficult for people to either get sacked or remove themselves from the system. We've got bills to pay, we've got children, we've got lives to live, and we have to survive. But we're really now getting to the point where it's gone so far, and actually we must advocate. It's part of our duty of care to advocate on behalf of these people. They're not able to see their families. They're not able to have any real say in what is being said and done. And they're just, I noticed in the last month or so that I was at my job in the nursing home, the residents were becoming withdrawn. Initially they were scared, then they became withdrawn, then depression did start to settle in, and there were lots of people saying, what's the point of going on if I can't even see my family, and I don't, I can't have any social activity or any quality of life. And this is the thing, we're not looking at quality here. We should be weighing up the risk, making an assessment, and actually involving people and saying, what would you prefer? there is a risk to your family coming in, let's have a discussion about it. We have a right to mitigate our own risks and to decide, have consent in what we want to do. And they have that right more than ever. So that's not happening. And it should be. So I'm really concerned now. It's going on and on and on. That lockdown was supposed to be for 3 weeks, if you remember, and we'll flatten the curve and save the NHS and save lives. And here we are, 7 months nearly on, and it's getting worse.
Absolutely. And I think for us, if we just picture that intensive first period of lockdown and just how quiet and solitary that was for most of us, perhaps not for everybody, but certainly it was quite surreal and quite different. And we came out of that in the summer, and you know, people in care haven't. I also covered a story about a young woman in care who's in her early 20s, hasn't seen her mother for 7 months. So young people with disabilities as well as the elderly in care. And I think it's not being presented that they actually should have a voice even. There's some
nobody advocates
around you know, restrictions for everybody else, but it's, oh, we must shield the vulnerable. But actually, what are they being shielded from? Because if the quality of life isn't worth living without contact, then surely there should be some consultation around that and some respect to families' wishes. I wanted to ask you about testing as well, the PCR test, because you had quite a rigorous testing process, didn't you?
That's why that's the main reason I left, because they were instituting it weekly. I did agree to the first round in June, I think it was, because I felt it was good to have a snapshot to see where we were at. And I've got concerns about the efficacy of the test. There's lots and lots of information from reputable sources to say that the tests are unreliable. The test was never designed to be a diagnostic test for this corona anyway. So that's very concerning. And also the actual the test itself, I believe, can be harmful. I know of a news report in America of a lady who went to one of these testing centers, and they're not qualified professionals doing these things. I think they're members of the public. I don't know whether there's any training given or any competency or any whether it's ascertained as to whether they're capable of doing these tests or not. But again, that's concerning. And you know, we're sticking sort of hard-ended swabs at the top of the nose, right at the back, very delicate area. You can break the biofilm there and the membranes, and you can cause leakage of spinal fluid from the brain, which is what happened to this lady in America. And this consultant, ear, nose and throat specialist, was saying that he believed it was very important that people doing the test ought to be qualified to do it. And also there ought to be some follow-up, which again, you know, there's no follow-up. There's no proof that people are doing it, that are able to do it and are competent to do it.
Can I interject with a short story?
Pardon?
Can I interject with a short story?
Of course, yeah.
About before, so it's not to do with the elderly, but it's about how the test is being done, and I've got a few of these stories as well. So I'm not basing it on you know, what I read. This is personal experience. The two friends of mine were going on holiday, and they needed to get a test before they went in order to get the all clear to go. So they looked online. The best price they could get for an immediate test was £240 each.
Oh my goodness!
To Central London, yeah. What a rip-off! They went up to Central London, met someone who was half an hour late, went to a pub. I don't know why they chose to go to a pub. I think they were just looking for somewhere indoor and private to go. Point being, it's not a sterile environment.
That's a clinical procedure.
Yeah, but in this case, clearly not. And they were just told, you know, swab until you feel nauseous and your eyes water, and then bring it
nice
back. I just
thought, you couldn't write this stuff, could you?
Crazy. And you know, so I've heard a lot about false positives. I met someone else who'd done 3 tests. She'd had some kind of respiratory flu. She wasn't sure if it was COVID, got 2 negatives. The third one was a weak positive, and they said a COVID related illness. I mean, what does that mean?
There's
And
just so much vagueness. It's ridiculous. And the other thing to mention is that, and this is popping up in the mainstream media here and there, but it's all over the social media. There's a lot of private firms that are making a lot of money out of this, and a lot of taxpayers' money has been given to these private firms. And Chris Whitty, I believe, Matt Hancock, they've all got shares in Serco, is it? Or they're to, when you look at it, they're all connected and they've got shares, and it feels like and looks like it's a bit of a boys' club where they're just sort of divvying out the goodies between themselves in the name of safeguarding the nation. I mean, it's obscene, actually, really. And the fact that they don't want an open debate, and the fact that they're silencing credible information that opposes their narrative, to me, that just proves that there's something a little bit sinister going on here. I don't know what the agenda is. It appears to be financial, but it's not good enough.
So we spoke before as well about the case count versus the actual infection count, which is something that never ever happened before. The pandemic has never been based on number of cases, i.e. a positive test for presence. It has to be combined with disease, infection. So
and there's no follow-up. There's no information that we've got this cases, and out of those cases we've had this many hospitalizations, and out of those hospitalizations we've had this many deaths. That would be good information to have, because then as intelligent people, members of the public, we could then decide the level of risk ourselves more rationally, rather than just being given this conflicting information that is not backed up by any logical reasoning whatsoever.
By a high number of excess deaths, because then there are a shortfall of deaths in other areas like heart disease.
Everything's getting
because they've been
everything.
COVID.
Everything's getting
I
put
never
down.
want to say that there's no illness at all. That's not what I'm trying to imply, but I think it's the way it's being manipulated. And I mean, just to close off, so we are both members of Save Our Rights UK, which is a civil rights group. It's not left wing, it's not right wing. It's about fundamental human rights, the right to expression, the right to question, the right to movement, and so that's why I'm doing some of these interviews. And Carol, you're speaking out about your experiences as well. So I just wanted to thank you a great deal for.
Thank you too. Thank you.
And let's hope we can spread the word and get more people questioning.
I think it's happening anyway. I think people are intelligent. You can't fool people all the time, put it that way.
Absolutely. Okay, so check out Save Our Rights UK. There's also reclaimourlives.com. And I mean, if you start looking on social media, there are lots of different sources. But for me, this is the one that deals very much with evidence-based information and fundamental human rights. So that's my steer. Okay, and for you as well, I believe. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much, Carol. Okay.
Thank you, Sina. Thanks.